Hello, I'm Crystal. I love coffee, connecting, and helping businesses to grow. I am really super excited that you have taken the time to visit this webinar. We're just waiting for a few minutes while everyone joins us. And I am super stoked. In this webinar, you are going to learn about how to bust business burnout in 30 days or less. This is a process that I developed myself in my own personal life and professional life. And it's also a process that I've used with my business consulting clients, and it's worked wonders for them. So we'll wait just a few more minutes while everyone joins us. And I just wanted to share a couple of things as we're waiting. The first thing is, I know we're all very busy people, but I just wanted to go ahead and give us some time to focus in. We're all busy, especially in a post-COVID hybrid working era. We all have notifications, we have multiple browsers open and that sort of thing. But brain science tells us that we do really well when we focus in on one thing at a time. And so for this time, you've taken the time to be here. You obviously want to gain some really amazing, insightful things for yourself, your business, those you lead, and those in your life. So to be able to do that, I would ask that you please silence your phone, that you turn off notifications if you're working from home or in an office, that you let your colleagues or your family know that for the next hour, 45 minutes or an hour, we'll see how long we go on, for you are busy. The other thing I would ask you to do is neuroscience also tells us that we remember things when we actually write them down. So if you're able to, grab a pen, grab a paper, or open up your device, maybe your notes on your phone, or wherever it is that you keep your notes. We have some really powerful stuff today. I don't want you to miss out on any of it. And I really want to make sure that you remember it so that you can implement this into your life. In just a minute, we will get started. As you can tell, I'm from America. Now, it's really interesting where my accent comes from. I once had a neighbor in the UK who thought that I was from New Zealand. It's just really interesting when you live globally. We're waiting just another few seconds before people join us, but I will go ahead and get started in just a moment. I also wanted to say that this webinar is being recorded. It's being recorded, but then it will be simul-streamed cast, which means that as it's being presented in your browser, if you try to go back or you miss it or you close your browser, you'll have to start again. You'll actually miss the place in the webinar and this workshop where we were. So let's go ahead and wait for people to join us, but I have a few things to share with you as well. Here we go. So the first thing is, if you are able to stay until the very end of this webinar, you'll actually be able to gain a copy of my free, amazingly awesome ebook. It's called Your Time Matters, Building a Business for Legacy and Impact. Legacy and impact are the two things that really matter a lot to me in my business and in the businesses that I work with. And in this free ebook, I talk about how you can always get more money, but you can't get more time. And in this ebook, it outlines the life-changing framework of how to build a profitable online business that is built around your profit, your passion, and your purpose. And when it's built around those three things, it is burnout proof. And so that means that you can start a business, grow your business, or grow a side hustle alongside your normal job. This book and this framework have been really impactful for businesses in many different parts of the world. And it's yours for free if you stay until the end of this webinar discussion today. So beyond that, I think most people have joined us. It looks like we're waiting just another couple of minutes. Yes, and I'm quite curious. I have my cup of tea here today. It's actually a honey mate, which is kind of cool. And I'm quite curious, do you guys drink tea or coffee? If you do, go ahead and grab a cup of tea or coffee, grab a warm drink if you need to, if it's winter. I'm recording this at a time in the very rainy UK summer, when it feels a bit like winter, actually, oddly enough. Or if you're in the heat at the moment, grab a cup of iced tea and we will get started in just a minute. So here we go. So again, true or false, this should be on your screen as well. Go ahead and please put this into the chat if you can. So for business owners, Managers and senior leaders are more likely to suffer burnout after COVID than before. By after COVID-19, I mean that business owners, managers, and senior leaders are more likely to suffer burnout after the series of lockdowns and remote working than before. From the business owners that I talk to and the leaders that I work with, it seems like this could be a thing. It could not be a thing. I'm curious, what in your experience? Pop your answer into the chat or on the poll button that we have. Cool. Once you've done that, I'll give you my opinion. My opinion is that it could be the case, but at the same time, if you have the right business vision, the right structure, and the right team, it is possible, especially after COVID, and a lot more after COVID than any time in human history, to have a stress-free and fun business and avoid business burnout. The reason why I say that, we have so many tools now. We have automation, we have AI, we have incredible amount of remote working tools that mean that you can work anywhere from any part of the world. You can connect a team remotely, digitally, hybrid, in person, you name it, you can do it. That being said, you have to have the right business vision, structures, and team. If you don't have all of those three pieces, then burnout is highly likely as a business owner, as a business manager, or as a business leader. So let's get started and see how we can avoid it and bust it. Now, you might be thinking, you're busy, how can this event help you? So if you are leading a business or a team, it can often feel like an impossible task. If you're self-employed and you have yourself and maybe a team of 2 or 3 people, it might feel like the pressure is always on you as you're wearing all the different hats that you have as a business owner. You're the sales department, you're the marketing department, you're the fulfillment, you're the web designer, you're the tech guru, and you're the accountant, all in one. All of that pressure, plus the constant feast or famine cycle that we have as small business owners, whether it is that you are constantly selling and then fulfilling, and then you forget about selling again, or if it is managing a team, because sometimes you hire a team thinking that the team is going to be easier, but then you discover that you have to train them, create processes, and the quality might drop. So then you're doing more quality assurance, more customer journey planning, more relationship management with long-term customers as you expand. And you might find that actually running a team, the pressure increases even more. If you're a senior leader in a bigger organization right now, during the inflationary crisis, cost of living crisis at the moment, demand is high, good workers are few and far between to find, and you're responsible and accountable for seemingly bigger targets, more, and asking more of your team and struggling to support them, as well as they have their own struggles getting back to normal life after COVID, as well as working with them to make sure that you can support them in the best way possible, but also manage them and help them to reach the team target. It can feel like a lot, and that steam has to go somewhere, that pressure. Now, oftentimes in burnout, it can go in some places that aren't so good. And so we're aiming to catch you before that steam and that pressure damages your health, your relationships, and your future career potential. So who is this event for? This event is for you if you are self-employed, have a small business. It's for you in that way because you can lay a good, solid foundation for your business, for your work-life balance, and for your income goals and for your career planning, so that you don't work in your business like one of my clients for more than 20 years who felt really stuck until we worked together, and she's able to gain a vision and grow and really feel rejuvenated. I don't want you working 20 years for yourself and it turns into just another job. If you are a manager who leads a team, this is for you as well, because as I was mentioning, as a manager, you're accountable not just for your team, but for your targets as an organization, for your own personal and for your team targets. That can feel really scary because you're wearing multiple hats as a manager. At the same time, especially if your organization is multinational or remote based, you're working in an environment that is unusual. We're not used to remote working, and it has its plus sides. Like I can work flexibly, remotely, anywhere in the world in theory, but it also has its downsides because managers and senior leaders expect more of you all the time. Some countries have put in laws and regulations prohibiting out-of-work emails and work expectation to limit the hours, but the statistics actually say otherwise, that remote working, people are working longer and harder, and that can have damaging health and long-term implications. So as a manager, you're trying to manage those expectations for your team. You're trying to juggle the hat of helping them to be as productive as they can, as well as helping them to manage their work-life balance a little bit so that they stay. Because in today's competitive environment, finding good team members is hard. If you are a senior leader, you have a lot of decisions to make. A lot rests on your shoulders, especially for a larger SME or growing smaller enterprise. A lot rests on your shoulders, and oftentimes at that level, you don't have many people to talk to offload on because of the loneliness that comes with leadership. With those pressures, you have a different set of challenges, which is to make sure that you're continually growing, that you're leading well, and that you're able to set strategy, but in a way that works for your organization and not in a way that could damage or hinder them in an ever-changing world. The constant of who this event is for someone who is a business owner or a leader faced with change. That's a lot of us today. Now, would you like to be able to one day in the not too distant future wake up and have a clear vision and the same energy you had when you were 25 or 26 and had just finished university or college, and you had an impact, you had a mission, you had a purpose, you had a gift. Some people call it a calling, a divine thing that you are meant to do in the world. Somehow between the age of 25 and 45 or 40 or 50, that passion, that excitement, that clarity disappears. And it often disappears in a few different ways. But would you like to be able to find a way to discover that clarity and that energy again? Secondly, we have a business building and leadership blueprint that can lead you to less stress, more time, and more income so that you can spend that time with your family and with those who matter most outside of work. And finally, would you like to have a toolkit for yourself and your team to build a burnout-proof workplace? And that is awesome. And that is what we're going to talk about today. So in this webinar, I promise that you will learn the top causes of burnout and why starting your own business is actually one of the hardest things to do, and why leading a business as a business manager is. We're going to talk about the top symptoms of burnout and how to spot them in yourself and in your team so that you can spot them before they become a bigger problem. And then we're going to learn about some of the remedies of burnout, how to bust it, which is how to set one big goal and a few daily action steps you can take and you can lead your team to take towards that goal. And we will talk about why so many businesses and organizations and teams fail to cultivate a thriving culture and take one step to talk about how to do that. We talk a lot about thriving and resilience in the corporate space and in the SME space, but in my experience with organizations, very few actually practice it very well. But before we get into that, I would like to talk a little bit about myself and my own journey. Again, my name is Crystal. I'm an American, lucky enough to live in the UK. I've been here for several years. I'm a professional coach and leadership consultant. I have a couple of different master's degrees in applied linguistics and exegesis, as well as one in innovation and entrepreneurship. I love coffee, connecting, and helping businesses grow. I had my first cup of coffee when I was in Brazil, when I was 16, and since then I've enjoyed coffee in many different parts of the world. I think my favorite cup of coffee was probably in rural Kenya once, or in Germany when I was an exchange student there. I also love being outside. Where I live is a beautiful rural place in the UK with lots of walks and lots of time outside. So yes, I have a remote digital business, but when I'm not working, you won't find me in front of a computer. You'll find me rather connecting with people face to face, or working on some craft and some other hobbies, and with family. Family, legacy are both two very big priorities in my own life and have been the inspiration for my business and for my work. In my work, I've worked with 20 different business owners since 2020 to work on planning their burnout and bust it really with the right vision, revenue plan, systems, and team. As I've worked with business owners, it's been really interesting as they're starting and scaling their online businesses, because there's certain common themes that have emerged. And the other interesting thing is I love to travel, or used to, but since COVID, I've not been on a transatlantic flight. So it's been really interesting, actually, in the last several years of learning how to live very locally, but also to connect and to work globally at the same time. So there we go. Now, I have a very unique career journey. I started out my work for 11 years. I worked in the field of education. I was a graduate teaching assistant for some advanced linguistic classes. I know, pretty geeky, learning how to nearly, create an alphabet, that kind of thing. And then I worked as a multilingual educator and dual language specialist in a couple of different countries in curriculum basis. I worked in the UK teaching high school for a couple of years. And then after that, I started my first online business in 2018, working as a tech VA, helping course creators and coaches create memberships and courses and plan programs. I found in that business that it was really fun. It was really cool and engaging to create community online. But I also found that it was really interesting because the online space here, I just have it as very transactionally in the screen. But I found that actually in the online space, building trust in organic marketing and mentoring and those types of longer term relationships actually took longer because you are having to do it in a different way. In my own business journey, I found around the time of COVID, I had one of life's little interruptions where I ended up being a suddenly unexpected single parent far from home during a pandemic, which was all right. We were getting by at the time. I had a part-time job, but I was really trying to get a car. You see, as an American in the UK, you actually have to take your driving test again to learn how to drive on the other side of the road. The other challenge that I had was I'm dyslexic. So when you're dyslexic, knowing some of your directions and kind of switching things around in your brain can be an added challenge. And so for me, learning how to drive in the UK was a big life goal and a big thing that I needed to do for my family. I was self-employed as a small business mentor. I was working a part-time job and just had this big dream. But I never seemed for nearly a year to be able to have enough time or energy or focus to be able to drive. It just was something that I really, really wanted. And I know I still have friends who thought I was crazy for going for driving lessons in my 30s. Like, I could get by on the bus, I could get by on the train, I could get by with taxis. But for me, that car was a symbol of freedom. And for you, you might have your own dream. It might be a little bit more than a car. It might be a flexible life. It might be working fewer hours, building that retirement home or that community, or doing that career, passionate career that you've always wanted to do, but you've not had the time because you've always been working, always been providing, and always been busy doing other things. So for me, it was the car. And so finally, I met with a mentor and we set a plan. And my mentor really helped me to focus in. He helped me to clarify a couple of clear things. And I'm going to teach you part of what he taught me, which helped me to move the needle to reach that goal and several other goals. But you might be a lot like me. You might have had a sudden life event. We all have them at different times, whether it's that biopsy result, whether it's relationship breakdown or relationship change, or any other moments of life that you might have to pivot quite suddenly. It's a lot like kind of just being thrown into the rapids. Things change, life moves on, and you have to learn how to be able to take what you have and be able to adjust with the change. You might feel like you're working a lot, but you're not able to reach that goal, whether it's a personal goal or a business goal that you've had. You might feel a lot, if you're a senior manager or a senior leader, like you're running a business alongside your other employment, and you might be feeling torn between the two. I know I felt this way when I had a part-time job and when I also was running my own business. And it was really interesting because I felt torn, even though the part-time job knew about my business and was really supportive of it, I still felt torn. So back to that meeting with my mentor. We talked about two things, actually three things. We talked about the idea of vision and to focus on one thing. You see, I had actually three big wishes at this point in my life. A couple of years ago, And he said, just focus on one thing, because when you focus on more than one thing, you're not going to get there. And I thought to myself, yeah, that's right. So I put all the other stuff aside and I focused on the one thing, which for me was the car. The second thing was I decided to take baby steps rather than affording that really big, expensive, intensive driving course I was saving up for. I decided to actually just find a local driving instructor, take weekly lessons, and pay as you go. And lo and behold, it seemed like as I started doing that, as I started taking baby steps towards driving, as I got in the car again, as I passed my theory test, one thing led to another. And before I knew it, I'd passed my test. The third big key and the third big takeaway was this idea of time. As a single parent, working a part-time job and being self-employed, I was not at that moment in time when I met with my mentor as disciplined as I could have been around the idea of time. And so what I did was I kept this time diary. Then I learned about this idea of time blocking and sharing and being super focused. So I moved my business to just 2 evenings a week at the moment in time. And I also focused my part-time work in a different way. So I was able to devote my time where I wasn't feeling split, but I was super focused. And it's amazing the power of focus and what you can accomplish. Soon after that, I accomplished a vision, which was to be able to have a tiny house in a tiny town, in a tiny country, on a tiny island in the North Atlantic. Not tiny, but quite nice. And after I passed my driving test, we were able to move and able to do several other things that just improved the quality of life for my family and for myself. I found I was enjoying my self-employed work better. It was growing, and in less time, it had grown to actually replace my part-time job. So soon enough, I was able to say goodbye to the part-time job, got some wheels, not this one, and had a much better quality of life. That change leads me into this idea of vision. Vision is a really powerful thing. Now, in my mentoring, I talk about the idea of vision, not in a woo-woo sense or in kind of a think it and believe it and it'll be there kind of sense, but more in a thinking about it, planning it, thinking about one thing and taking concrete action steps to get there. We become what we think about. Psychologists tell us, and this is quite true, that what we think about and believe is how we act. And how we act is what determines the results that we get in life. As you think about it, I love the work of Viktor Frankl, and he talks about the idea that when people had lost everything, they can either choose to become positive and focus on other people and find purpose, or they can become quite negative and inwardly focused. And that negativity and that inward focus actually leads to some very negative consequences. I saw this myself on my journey through the benefit system and the welfare state in the UK. I found when I encountered different people, it was really interesting that when you meet people who are in a crisis situation, they actually will choose the positive or negative. And it's really interesting that a lot of times those predictions are what comes true. My friends and family who are nurses and in other emergency services will often say the same, that as a nurse, that if you're in the hospital and a patient comes in, it's not just their diagnosis, but it's also their belief and their thoughts and their feelings around those diagnoses that can impact their outcome. I'm not saying that's all the time, but it's a lot of the time and probably more of the time than what we give it credit for. So having a very clear vision and a very clear thought is really important. And then also having the right mindset and the right beliefs around that thought is important as well. And this is where a lot of the online coaching industry and a lot of the self-help and self-improvement movement kind of falls down, is they talk a lot about having a great big vision and a lot about having the right beliefs, but not about marrying it up with action. So you really need those three things: the right vision, the right beliefs, and the right action. Because if you have a vision, but you don't believe that you really can do it, then it's just wishful thinking. If you have a vision and the right beliefs, but you're not taking the right action, you're going to be burnt out, you're going to feel frustrated, and your goals are going to seem farther away than ever. So I want to teach you in this session what my mentor taught me: the power of vision. setting a business goal aligned with your life and values, and how to take the right daily actions and putting the right success systems into place to get there. Are you ready? So the first principle is to make sure that you have a vision. You'd be surprised at the number of people that I meet in the online space and in the offline space who don't have a vision. There's lots of them who are just getting by day to day. They're just kind of content to just kind of go from paycheck to paycheck. And there's a saying, like if you have 10 pounds left or $10 left in your bank account after you pay all your bills, then you're wealthy. So there's that sort of side of things. Then on the other side, there's people who have pie in the sky visions that seem impossible. And you look at their actual lives and it doesn't really line up. And then you ask them a few months later about that vision and about that plan, and they're not sure about it. So let's dig in to how to create a vision. Now, as kids, remember that I used to teach, and I went into teaching because I believe that we all have human potential to do really good in the world. And when I used to teach 11 to 14-year-olds, they used to tell me something. They had really big dreams. They really wanted to impact the world. And some of them are now. It's really amazing to see. But at the time, they also told me something. And they would tell me that they didn't want to grow up or get a job like their parents because they saw how stressed their parents were working in senior management, working in different corporate roles. And they also saw how little time their parents and their family had to spend with them. Now, for kids, time is a love language. And so as kids grow into adults, our lives sort of get into mundane things. We get adult responsibilities, which is good. It's all good to have those things. But at the same time, we tend to settle into far less than what we're capable of. And the reasons why we settle are different. It could be a life experience. It could just be what happens. It could be many different things. But the question that I have for you today is why? Because living in the UK as an American, one of my favorite places to visit is a graveyard. It might sound a bit creepy, but during COVID, we had this rule in Wales where we couldn't go more than 5 miles from our house at one point in time. And in my tiny town, in a tiny village of that tiny town, there was this church graveyard that I used to go walking in. And it was really a bit eerie to actually sit in an ancient graveyard. And they're all over this country, from Scotland down to England, down to Wales. And in each one, it's really amazing and a spiritual experience to sit in and to think about the generations that have gone before. Some that are from the ancient times, some from the Roman times, some from the Middle Ages. But each one of them, even the Victorians, you can sit and imagine what people's lives were like. And it also puts life into perspective, that we don't actually have as much time as what we think. And it also makes me question, and some other people question, what is the impact that you want to make? Because at the end of the day, that is what matters most. And so we often will have these moments in life that give that kind of crystal clarity. It could be a phone call. It could be a moment, a near accident. It could be an illness. It could be a life experience. It could happen in a minute, or it could have been COVID, or the experience of working through COVID, or just even getting older. Whatever that external stimulation is that's making you think and question and remember those internal dreams, that is a source to listen to. Because burnout is caused by hiding those dreams and by actually falling into and settling into the mundane. So once you can create that vision, whether it's a simple one, it could be, if you love fishing, but you've been in project management all your life, could you build your work week in such a way that on a Friday you could go fishing? Could you start a fishing blog? Could you become an affiliate marketer with fishing products on Amazon? What is one way that you could, one small, tangible way that you could build the vision into your work and into your life? For me, I love to put my vision, whatever that one thing is that I'm working towards, behind where I sit down to work. Because you see, for me as a parent, I have very limited working time. So when I sit down at my computer, I have to be really focused. I have to be very responsible for how I'm spending that time. And if I have that one big vision, behind my computer, then I know exactly why it is that I'm doing what I'm doing. And if it's something that stretches me, something that pushes me out of my comfort zone, even better, because it helps me to achieve that one thing. That being said, I also think about it and build it into my work and life in a few other different ways. But I'm very careful and I'm very guarded about who I share that vision with. You see, your vision is an idea and a goal for your future. And if you share it with everybody, it might not be so good. It's kind of like being that person who always says that they're going to get healthy, but then they never actually do. You want to share it with a couple of people who will support you and who will encourage you on your journey, but not with everyone. So build that vision into your work and into your life. The second step is to know the path you need to take and make sure that it's the right path, and do 2 to 3 things daily. This is where lots of people fall down. Many of my clients tend to be more type A personalities, so they love to do stuff. They love data, they're action takers. That's amazing. It's really good. But oftentimes they're falling into the trap of doing way too much stuff that doesn't actually need to be done. And so one of the first things we do when we work together is we take a look at those actions, and if those actions are actually getting the results that they need in their work and in their life and in their business. And 9 times out of 10, we can eliminate a lot of them. So when you think about the path that you are on, you need to think about a couple of different things. This is how you can recognize some of the symptoms of burnout versus thriving. And by burnout here, I just need to clarify that I mean that state that isn't quite depression. You're still mentally well, but you're just not quite there. You might feel stuck, like life is all the same, like you're living it like a film on repeat. It's just, how little kids just watch the same film over and over again. That's how life is when you're burnt out. It just feels like it's the same thing all the time. You might have a vision or a goal in your heart or in your family or in your business to achieve, but you're not sure how to make it happen. Or even worse, you know how to make it happen, but you just can't seem to. You've taken some effort towards it, or you just don't have the time or the money or the resource or the energy to achieve it. Or you might feel like people around you have kind of put you into a box and they view you as one way, one role that you fulfill in your adult life, but you internally know that you can be so much more. That's how you feel when you're burnt out. That might look like feeling a little bit tired. It might look like not doing your best at work. It might look like not being as energetic or enthusiastic about, getting out of bed in the morning. It might feel like you're always doing everything. You're just living from holiday to holiday, or looking for a new thrill. Or it might also look like for the fact that you want to pack it in. You want to pack in your business. You want to retire early. You just want to kind of quietly resign and do something different. Whatever that looks like for you, stop, because the road to burnout is not a good one. And it can also lead to some pretty dangerous consequences. If you think about thriving and having the energy that wisdom and a clear vision brings, you have excited energy even in the mundane. I was training a team member recently who was really excited about a very simple task. And it actually caused me to think and to pause and think about their vision that they had for this very mundane task that I personally hate doing, and I think they would do. But they were attacking it with such joy and excitement. That was really interesting. So when you have a clear vision, a good system, and good confident source of revenue, it's amazing what a solid foundation that can give you in your life, not just for your mental health, but also for so many other aspects of your life. Also, when you have a good team around you who can support you both in person and remotely, globally, it's amazing what can happen when you also have a good team around you for your good business functions. Even if you're self-employed and you're a solopreneur, you're doing everything yourself, you still need to find a good support system and a good team who can help augment the parts of your life and the parts of your business that aren't your best work, so that you can focus on what you do best. So, and those are a couple of different paths. You need to make sure that you're on the right one and that you're able to take the right action. So, how can you find that right action? It's the idea of focus, and it's the idea of creating that one vision, giving attentive energy to it, and it expands. And then also identifying 1 to 3 actions at a time. Part of my travels internationally, I visited the island of Lamu, which is in Kenya. Lamu is very famous for its doors. It was settled by the Swahili people, a mixture of some African descent and some Arab interactions. And so it's just a really beautiful place. Some of these doors are absolutely incredible. They're very ornate, very decorated, but it's really interesting because I think that a good goal and a good vision can be like one of these doors. As you focus on it, as you focus your attention on it, it expands. You get more excited about it. You feel like you can actually achieve it, and you can create that positive energy and that positive forward momentum. But then you also have to think about 1 to 3 actions that you can take every day towards that goal. Kind of like when I was learning how to drive, or when I was starting my business. I built my business and my driving up into this great big thing. And instead, I just needed to be able to take 1 to 3 daily actions towards that thing. So for driving, it was having the weekly driving lessons so I could work on my driving skills. And I did that for a long time. And it was actually really good and a great way to learn how to drive because it built it into my life, grew my confidence, created positive energy and positive forward momentum on it. If you think about that for your business and for your leadership goal that you've written down, hopefully by now, you need to think about 1 to 3 daily actions that you can take towards it, not 8 to 10 or 20 weekly actions, but just 1 to 3 very simple things. It could be as simple. I had a client who is a leader of an agency, and he just said after a big health crisis, he needed to drink more water and spend less time in front of the screen. I thought that surely he had a bigger business goal than that. But that actually, those 2 actions, drinking more water and spending less time in front of the screen, made his business revenue grow incredibly. It's amazing how when you focus on your health and how you focus on good work-life balance and good systems and a very simple vision and 1 to 3 actions, how quickly things can change. So again, I love this idea and this power of focus. Remember how I said to write your one goal behind where you work and to put it somewhere else around you in your life. The reason why I said this is because of the power of subconscious focus. Now, lots of coaches get way into this and the kind of woo-hoo movement. I'm not one of those, but I am one to actually believe in the power of the subconscious mind to look and to notice patterns. So if you notice, for example, when I was looking for my new car, I suddenly saw the kind of car that I wanted to buy everywhere in a tiny town, in a tiny country, on a tiny island in the North Atlantic. There's probably not that many versions of that car around, but suddenly I found it everywhere. Or when you suddenly find out that you're pregnant or your partner's pregnant, you can suddenly see baby stuff everywhere you go. There's probably not actually that many babies around, but you're aware of it. That's the same thing in the power of focus. It's this idea that we have in German when you think about Wissen versus Kennen. German has 2 different ways to think about knowledge or how to know stuff. And so Wissen is to kind of know about someone and to know all the information and the facts of a story or the facts of an event, versus Kennen, which is to really know someone personally. So for example, I can know all about Abraham Lincoln, the details of his life and who he was as a person, but I didn't actually really know him. Like I wouldn't know if he would have liked, I don't know if they had coffee or tea or sweets or what they had in his era, but at the same time, I didn't actually know what made him smile, what made him blush, what made him tick, what he didn't really like, because I wasn't alive then. It's the same thing with our goals. We can kind of know about our goals and know about our vision and think, oh yeah, I'll get to that one day. Like for me, driving in the UK was that way for many years. It was like, oh yeah, I really want to do it, but I can't actually see it happening. I don't actually see it being a reality. Or having my own business flexibly around my family. For me, it seemed like an impossible dream. It seemed like something that I couldn't do. But when I began to actually really visualize it and feel it and actually know it and believe that it could be possible, then it became possible. And it's an amazing thing that when you focus on something, it grows. And so when you take the 1 to 3 action steps towards that vision, it's amazing what happens. But it also gives you the confidence and the energy to continue, which is really, really important. Now, at this point in the webinar, I want you to please write down and pop in the chat your one big vision and 1 to 3 action steps. And one of us on our team will get back to you either today by chat or by email with some feedback on that. So we've set the vision, we've set the way to bust burnout by reducing what we're doing, but by having very focused action and smart action to get the right outcome. Now we need to think back to that other source of burnout, which is doing too much for other people. When we're doing too much, or when we're living up to expectations that we can't live up to, that is often a huge source of burnout. And you'd be amazed, especially among senior women who are senior business leaders and business owners, how common that is, and men as well. And so the key to avoiding burnout and to sticking with it is to have the right community and the right support in place. Now you need to think about this, especially about who you ask for support and who you ask for advice. I'm very selective in my own life and in my business of who I take advice from. I have a very small group of, I call them kind of my strategic advisors, actually, some people who've created some pretty amazing businesses, who are amazing leaders, amazing people, and they have lives and they've done stuff that is very cool and very amazing. They speak the truth, but they always speak the truth in a very caring way. And so for me, and I want to urge you as well, to be really careful about who you let in to give advice in your life. Said, I think it was Samuel Taylor Coleridge who said that advice is like snow. The softer it falls, the longer it dwells upon, and the deeper it sinks into the mind. So you need to really think and really guard and be careful of what you let into your mind. You've done the hard work of creating the belief, creating the vision, creating the 2 to 3 daily actions that you're taking. You don't want it to be ruined by letting everyone in and letting the wrong people give you advice about something. And many people are very good intentioned about giving advice, but you need to think very wisely about who you allow to give advice. So who can you let do that? And this is my question. In a very noisy world, can you pop this into the chat or answer the poll? I'm not sure, whichever one is there. And think about, who are you following on social media? Who are you allowing to speak into your life and into your work and into your business? This is one of the most common problems I encounter with small business owners and business managers, is that they listen to everybody all the time. And so they're constantly having to change and pivot, and they never reach their goals or the organization's goals. This is a very dangerous place to be in, because if you're listening to everybody and trying to do, as a business manager, you might be answerable to the owner, to the board, to the team. You might feel caught in the middle. You might feel really conflicted, and you might also find yourself coming out with contradictory actions and contradictory things depending on who you talked to. Also, on social media, if you're an online entrepreneur, you have to be really wise about who you follow and who you listen to in the online space. As many of us know, there's a lot of fake stuff out there. There's a lot of gurus and marketing people who are really good at selling stuff, but not really good at actually delivering it, and who don't have good character. So you need to be really wise and really careful about whose advice, whose path you follow. So how do you find those people? I'll ask you that question. How do you find those people? For me, it's a combination of looking at their character, looking at what they've done, and looking at how they speak and how they see the vision of my life. For me, I also look for a couple other things. I look for people who've had what I call a magic door moment, going back to that door in Lamu and going back to the idea from Viktor Frankl that people in a crisis will either choose to go up or choose to go down. We all have what I call a magic door moment, whether it is a layoff, whether it's a crisis at work, whether it's a personal crisis. We all have had them and we'll all have them again. But what it is that you do with that moment matters. Because while we can't control what is happening, we are responsible for what we do and for the results that we get. And the crisis is a great opportunity as a teacher. It teaches us and reveals our character, can build us, and can help us to be even better. But we also have to think. I look for mentors who've been through a magic door moment, who've chosen to use it as a strength, and who've chosen to build something from it. And you need to also think about how it is impacting your idea of time to achieve your dream. In those magic door changeable moments, we achieve our dream or not. It reveals to us that black and white clarity that we so seldom get. And that clarity can be a gift if we make use of it. If we don't, it just fades into the background. And so I'd love to ask you, are you using that magic door moment? Have you had one? And are you using it in your life? And are your mentors and the community members around you, have they had those moments? And are they living differently because of them? If they're not, then you could still follow them. You can still take their advice. But in my experience in the last 20 years, it's that people who've had this kind of moments and who've used them positively to change and to grow are the ones that I want to learn from, because they often are wiser and they have done more, because they realize that the time that we have to make that dream and to make the impact that we want to make is actually incredibly short. So here we go. I have just given you the business burnout busting system. Have a vision, make a simple plan, and make the right community to make it happen. What do you think so far about it? Pop your answer into the chat. So I'd love to say a few things now. You're going to get the amazing opportunity to learn about the system, to gain access to my free ebook, and to hear about how the system has helped other people. But you need to also think about this system is not for several different kinds of people. First off, it's not for what I call woo or manifestation and wishful thinking without action. Again, as I said before, lots of coaches in the online space think that, you can just think positive thoughts and feel happy and have good vibes and reach your destiny. At the same time, it takes action, it takes the right feeling, the right belief, and the right action to make it happen. Secondly, this is not another way to build a business online in 90 days and become a millionaire. It's not that. It does have some very good business principles and good ideas and good foundations, but it takes work. And it's also not for you if you want to just build a business and build your leadership to be able to kind of escape life. I'm all for traveling. I'm all for enjoying life and enjoying the fruit of your labor. But at the same time, I'm looking for people who want to make a bigger difference in the world beyond their business, beyond their career. For some of my clients, that has been different things. For one lady, it was creating a bookkeeping agency in a couple different states that helped stay-at-home parents to work flexibly. For another client, it was the idea and the mission to be able to make a difference with neurodiverse people, to be able to provide job opportunities for them. For other clients, it's been other things. But for you in your business, I'm all for supporting your business to grow and your leadership to grow. But I'd love to work with you, especially if you have a greater vision than that. And here's another question for you. In 20 years, we could look back on this moment as one of those clarity moments, as one of those miracle moments, as a time when you finally achieved your dreams or started realizing what your dreams were and working towards them. And it takes a little bit of internal work, which we haven't talked as much about today in today's presentation, but what we do cover in the Business Burnout Busting Business Program. And we also talk about the idea of how to overcome obstacles and to become the person and business owner that you were meant to be. I believe that everybody has a divine spark, divine something inside of them, and they're meant to live that out. But so many of us don't. We settle for something far less because we let fear or other obstacles in life stop us. So in the past, in my parents' and grandparents' generations, they were able to work a very comfortable corporate job for years and to be able to retire comfortably. For us, that's not really an option. It is, but we can do so much more. We have had COVID. COVID has given us tons of online tools and the opportunity to create stuff that no other generation has had in the past. We can create that online in our business and in our leadership, and that with great opportunity comes great responsibility. So the path to getting there, the path to busting burnout in your business and in your leadership with vision, a couple daily actions, and the right community is simple, but it's not easy. It just has 3 steps: vision, action, community. But in this path, I found in my work with clients that the idea and the phase of setting a vision is hard, but simple at the same time. This is the first part of the Burnout Busting Business Program. And this is pillar number 1, where we begin with a C-suite level work stress audit and vision creation. In this level, we are talking about trying to get a baseline assessment of what specific challenges you're facing. We assess the level that you have of work stress, and we try to understand and diagnose some of those stressors. We observe and do a complete 360 audit of your working life, if you're self-employed or part of a team, and get some feedback from yourself, from colleagues, and other partners. The reason why I like the 360 model when it's not tied to pay is because oftentimes we can think inside our minds that we're coming across as one way in our working life and feeling one way, when those who work with us and we work for actually might view it quite different. And it's been amazing and surprising to see the results of that. From there, we create a vision of one thing for the business or for the career, and sometimes a vision of one thing for life if you want, but that's not a requirement. From there, we take action. This is the messy middle of the program, where we look at pillar number 2 and pillar number 3. In pillar number 2, we are focused on lifestyle design and an inner success roadmap. We talk a lot more about the internal stuff of how to overcome fear and overcome obstacles that get in your way from reaching that vision and that life and that career or that business that you want. We also look at the very specific details of what that lifestyle looks like. For you, if you're a senior manager or senior leader, it might look like that you want to work more flexibly, more remotely. It might mean that you want to work fewer hours. It might mean that you need a new position, or it might mean that you just need to clear up a few communication things with some team members. If you run your own business, it might mean that you want to hit a certain revenue goal. It might mean that you want to expand your team, but not work fewer hours, or hire in a business manager if you're the owner, so that you're not having to do the day-to-day operational management of the business. It looks quite different in pillar 2 and pillar 3 for many of my clients, but what is the same is that we create a very specific and very customized bespoke roadmap for success. In this roadmap, we consider 2 ideas. We consider the idea of internal and external expectations. Internal expectations matter a lot because if they're not aligned to our external reality, burnout can creep in. External expectations matter a lot as well, because remember when I was talking about the idea of people in your work and in your business, you need to make sure that you're able to align your external expectations with your performance. If it's not aligned, that's another huge point of burnout. In pillar number 3, you gain access to an emotional resilience mastery toolkit, which is really cool. In that toolkit, you get many different things. I ask you to focus on just 2 key areas. You get access to more than that, but it is things like project management, time management, financial cash flow forecasting, relationship management at work, how to handle conflict at work, how to communicate with remote team, how to work online, how to manage working from home in a healthy way, how to manage your stressors. I ask you to choose 2 because sometimes I've had clients who come in, they set the vision, they're ready to go, and they try to do everything, but then they fall flat in a couple months. I want this to be a sustainable change for you in your business and in your personal life. For sustainable change, you just need to go with just a couple things that will work. From there, we plug you into a community. We work and we have an amazing, very small community that is very supportive, where you also work to grow your business growth planning or your career growth. You set a core income goal and you create a core business or professional plan using the clear business growth model. This clear business growth model begins with clarity, leadership, executive action, and repeat results. I've used this model to work with more than 20 businesses globally, and it's an amazing model. It gets some great results. I had one client who, in 6 weeks in working with this model, she reached her annual income goals and said, I'm done. I was like, oh, let's keep going. She stopped. I had another client who started with me as a freelancer, and he's just registered as an S Corp, which if you're not familiar with in the States, that's a really good thing. So this model works of business growth and career growth as well. I worked with one executive during COVID, and she found that she's in a very male-dominated industry. We worked on her personal approach. We worked on her communication style, her assertiveness a little bit, but in a very feminine way. She worked up the gumption in our sessions to apply for a promotion. She got it 2 levels up. So it works. So you set your business growth planning, you do the internal work, and then you set the external goals, and we work towards it. We have a very powerful community that's launching in September, where in this program, you will get the 12 one-on-one calls and the deliverables with me or another coach, but then you will also receive weekly group mentoring sessions that are recorded and access to a very cool private community forum where you'll be able to get support and celebrate, because I'm a firm believer in having good community, and I know that not everybody has that where they live. I also encourage you, though, to find it and cultivate it where you live. Does this work? Yes. So this is from a client who has worked with me for about 2 years. And she said, I've worked with Crystal for almost 2 years now, and she's helped me to overcome many obstacles when starting my new business. She helped me gain clarity and insight to what my vision and next steps were. I can recommend her on so many levels. She really holds you accountable in setting goals and achieving them. She keeps you on track, listens well, and is always willing to go above and beyond, making sure her clients are rewarded with all the value that she has on the table. This is from another client who launched an international bestseller during COVID. And she said that my blended structured coaching approach helped to build systems to grow a foundation that took my business and career to the next level, while simultaneously creating structured rest and personal time. Because this one particular client was feeling really burnt out before we started working together. By the end, she had lost weight, she had a thriving business, and she had a good plan. These are some other testimonials saying that I was very helpful and explained all I could to help, and I look forward to another session. I met via video for a consult to bounce some ideas around. I truly felt that she cared, and that is something that people say time and time again, is they sense that I care, but that it also works. So when you join our community, you're not just joining a very specific approach, but a wider community and network of businesses. So again, here's what we're doing. You need to create a vision board. You have a list of the mentors that you can think about and create, people who you look up to, and where you find your community. I'll leave those journal prompts up with this webinar, but then also we have this business busting program that begins, or I also call it Begin Then, which is to just begin. It kicks off in September. Again, it's normally a 3-month program, but you get a year access with the program fee, because we know life happens, that some people are ready to jump right in and they have time to book all 12 sessions right away and just work all the way through. Other people need a little bit more time. So that's why I say an annual access. In addition to that, you get the 3 live group calls a month, and the 12 one-on-one individual calls. In addition, in the month of August, we're running a very cool special with an add-on of laser mentoring, where you can book in unlimited laser mentoring sessions during your annual mentorship time, which means that you get 1 question and you get 1 piece of advice. The only catch for the laser mentoring is you have to take that action or that piece of advice before you come back. Then we'll also have our community engagement forum and very clear business building framework for startups and scale-ups, with lots of resources there for you. That's what's in our program. Now I have some questions for you. The way to join this program is to click the button to book in a call with Scott, our onboarding director, or myself, and we would love to discuss this program to see if it's right for you in the next step. In addition, I also have our resource down below as a thank you for staying for so long. I hope that you enjoy my ebook, Your Time Matters, and I hope that you can use that to start, grow, or scale your online business. And I would also invite you, if you're not quite ready yet, to book in a call with Scott or myself to go ahead and join our free Facebook community as well. In addition, I have some questions. First off, does anyone have any questions? Okay, so first question, which I get a lot, is who is this for? This is for you if you are a business owner, self-employed, or manager, if you are experienced at what you do, and if you're experiencing some of those symptoms of burnout. This is not for you if you're experiencing mental illness, if you're mentally unwell, or physically unwell. This is for you if you are ready to take action, if you have between 3 to 5 hours a week to spend on this process, and if you're ready to change. This isn't for you if you're looking just for another book, another course to take and not change. This is also right for you if you are focused and ready to grow. It's not for you if you're just looking for another excuse or looking just to do something just for the sake of it. How much time do I need for this? And why am I giving busy people even more stuff to do? And this is a very good question. And the reason why is because if you don't give yourself time to do this now, you'll regret it later. I've had a few hard stops in my life, and it's hard, but you've just got to take it. And if you give it to yourself now, then I really firmly believe that your life will change and will be transformed in the future. What you need for this is about 3 to 5 hours a week, because you'll have videos, you'll have homework in between the one-on-one sessions, you'll have assessments to fill out. You'll also have a community forum to participate in, setting weekly goals, celebrating weekly wins. All of that does take some time, but not too much time. In addition, you need to think about the time that this would take away from your work, away from your family commitments, and away from any other life commitments. So think very carefully about this program, because I don't want you to buy it and then not do it. I care about your results. I care about my client results. And if you're not able to commit to the time at this moment, that's okay. We'll keep you on a list and we'll have you another day. And the final question is, why is this such a big investment, and what payment options are available? The reason is because this is a carefully crafted program out of my life experience, out of my academic background from business school, as well as a trained coach. And it also draws on resources from many other experts. It draws on resources from a leading Canadian psychologist and career coach. It draws on resources from several other disciplines. And we have a great team, but with that team comes great responsibility. In addition, I think this program is actually a bargain if you look at some other things and other options out there, if you wouldn't take the change. And the second thing is what payment options are available. We do have some flexibility with that. So please go ahead and book in with myself or with Scott or another member of our onboarding team, and you'll be able to discover some of those options. If you have any other questions, please pop them in the chat. Please also go ahead and feel free to email me or our team, hello@cegit.us. Again, it is hello@cegit.us. And I wanted to say an extra thank you for staying all the way to the end of this presentation, and to invite you again to join our Facebook group, to book in a call, and to change your business, your leadership, and your life. You won't regret it. Have a great day.